Hey kids, it's June 17th, Wednesday. I flew to Istanbul today, and I'm actually with your grandpa. We've been having a nice chat, but I have to admit, I'm exhausted. I'm not even sure I'll be able to put 2 words together tonight. But I still wanted to record today's message, because I want to talk about something that I think sits at the center of almost everything we've discussed so far. Self-awareness. We've already touched on it in previous conversations, when we talked about controlling our emotions, making decisions, and living according to our values. But today, I'd like to focus on it directly. Think about it. How can you make good decisions if you don't really know yourselves? If you don't know what you truly want, what you don't want, what motivates you, or what keeps getting in your way, then how can you expect to consistently make choices that lead you toward the life you want? Self-awareness is the foundation. Let me give you an example from my own work. I coach quite a few people. Many of them want to move from individual contributor roles into leadership positions. Sometimes they have the technical skills, sometimes they work hard, but they're missing certain behaviors or habits that make them obvious candidates for leadership. The interesting part is, very often they don't even realize those gaps exist. Not because they're arrogant, not because they don't want to improve, simply because they can't yet see them. And I call that a natural lack of self-awareness. We all have what people call unknown unknowns, things we don't know and don't even know that we don't know. Sometimes those only become visible when life puts us into a particular situation, or a new role, or a difficult challenge. So yes, I think self-awareness is one of the most fundamental life skills. But there's a problem. It's difficult, because we can't step outside ourselves and observe ourselves objectively. Most of our decisions happen automatically. Most of our behaviors are unconscious. So the obvious question becomes, if self-awareness is so important, how do we actually develop it? Over the years, I've found a simple process that helps. The first step is notice. Pay attention. Notice your emotions. Notice your words. Notice your body language. Notice your breathing. Notice how people respond to you. Simply becoming aware that something is happening is already a huge step. The second step is name it. If you're angry, say to yourself, I'm angry. If you feel embarrassed, name it. If you feel defensive, name it. If you feel disrespected, name it. It sounds simple, but something interesting happens when you accurately label an emotion. You stop being completely controlled by it. Instead of being the emotion, you begin observing it. Then comes the third step, reflect. Ask yourselves, why am I feeling this? What triggered it? Have I reacted like this before? Is there a pattern here? Because self-awareness is often nothing more than pattern recognition. You start realizing, I become defensive whenever someone criticizes me, or I avoid difficult conversations until they become much bigger problems, or I always try to solve people's emotions instead of simply listening. Once you see the pattern, you can finally do something about it. And that brings us to the last step, adjust. Don't judge yourselves, adjust yourselves. That's an important distinction. The goal isn't to criticize yourselves every time you discover a weakness. The goal is to understand yourselves more clearly, because understanding creates choice, and choice creates change. There are a few practical ways to accelerate this process. One is asking for honest feedback. Sometimes other people see things about us long before we see them ourselves. Ask someone you trust, what's one thing I do that helps me? And what's one thing I do that holds me back? Those conversations can be uncomfortable, but they're often incredibly valuable. Another tool is journaling. I'll be honest, I've never been particularly consistent with it, but I still believe it's a fantastic practice. It doesn't have to be long, just write a few lines. What triggered you today? What went well? What would you do differently next time? Over time, those notes become a mirror. Another idea that has helped me is separating intention from impact. This one is especially important. Sometimes we genuinely have good intentions, but our actions still hurt someone, or confuse them, or pressure them. Good intentions don't automatically create good outcomes. So it's worth asking, what was my intention? What was the actual impact? And what can I learn from the difference? This is especially important in leadership, in parenting, and in relationships. One more thing. Pay attention to your body. Your body often notices your emotions before your mind does. Are your shoulders tense? Is your breathing shallow? Is your jaw tight? Those physical signals tell you a lot about what's happening inside. And finally, know your values. Because self-awareness isn't only about understanding your emotions, it's also about understanding the kind of person you want to become. When someone cuts you off in traffic, or criticizes you, or disappoints you, don't just ask, "Why am I angry?" Also ask, "Which of my values feels challenged right now?" That's a much deeper question. One simple routine you might try someday is this. In the morning, ask yourselves, which value do I want to practice today? Then, during the day, observe yourselves. What am I feeling? Why? And in the evening, reflect. Where did I live according to my values? Where did I fall short? What can I do differently tomorrow? That's how self-awareness grows. Not all at once, little by little. It's hard work. I still struggle with it myself. But remember, the goal isn't to become perfectly calm or perfectly wise. The goal is simply to catch yourselves a little earlier each time, to understand yourselves a little better, and to choose your responses a little more deliberately. Because every time you understand yourselves a little more, you become a little freer. Anyway, that's enough for today. And don't ever forget, I love you both very, very much.